So if you've watched my channel before, you'll probably recognize that car. That's my 2012 Cruze Eco. That's the one I did the engine on and the one that I rebuilt the transmission on. Now, for those of you that want an update on that, I put probably 4,000 kilometers on that transmission so far. Still shifts smooth, still drives perfectly. So the rebuild I did is perfect. That's exactly what it needed. Now, that car, I actually have a buyer lined up for that car that really wants to buy it. And I want something a little bit nicer. That's just an Eco with cloth seats, not a whole lot of fancy features. So I went out and I bought this. This is a 2013 Chevy Cruze 2LT, so it's loaded up with the 1.4. It's got the RS package, just like my last white one I had, my 2014. And this one was actually involved in a front-end collision with a deer, as you can see. I got this from the provincial government salvage auction. I wanted something to replace my white one, and I wanted something a little bit nicer. And this one is also a manual. So it's a 2LT RS with the manual, which is kind of hard to find. And it's actually in decent shape. It needs a bit of a cleaning inside, but it smells pretty good. Still kind of has that new car smell, which is great. And like, other than the obvious front end damage, there isn't a whole lot of other things wrong with it. It definitely needs brakes just from sitting, a lot of surface rust on the rotors. But the rest of the body is actually in pretty good shape. It's even got the backup camera, the rear park assist. It's got the touchscreen inside. Like, it's pretty loaded up. It's got some window tint. It's pretty nice. So the plan with this one, get it through the inspections, get it fixed, and then maybe throw a couple small mods into it. So, being in the province of Saskatchewan, to rebuild a salvage vehicle like this, it requires 2 inspections. You have your mechanical, which is obviously your mechanical items. You have your structural, which is more your frame and your body integrity. So, in order to get those inspections done, the frame shop actually needs to see the car before any repairs are made. They want to see what it looks like, where the damage is, that kind of thing, before I even start working on this thing. So the plan is I'll make an appointment with them. We'll trailer it into them. They're going to look at it, and then we'll bring it home, and then we can start tearing this front end off and really see what's wrong with it. So early this morning, dropped the car off at the frame shop. They had it all day. Went and picked it up at the end of the day, and they gave me basically the SGI sheet that says everything that the car fails for. Now obviously there's going to be the hood, the fender, the headlight, stuff like that. The obvious things that it's going to fail for. And then other than that, they said tires, no good, which I kind of figured they're cracked up pretty good, and there's not a whole lot of tread left on them anyway. That's not a huge deal. I have other sets of wheels and tires for these cars. Then they said the obvious engine leaks, like I said, valve cover and water pump, coolant outlet, that kind of thing. Those are all leaking. They said a right front strut, so I'll probably just go ahead and do both of them. And the other weird thing is the horn doesn't work. Now I'm going to guess since the horn is under here somewhere, probably got smacked in the accident, so that's okay. Got one of those on my parts car. And then things that they didn't mention in the safety that aren't going to prevent it to fail but are bothering me. The brakes are pretty rough on this thing. They all have a bunch of surface rust from sitting, so I'm probably going to end up doing brakes all the way around. It's missing the antenna on it, so I'll have to throw one on there. And then when you start the car, it has a service side detection system error, and that's for the blind spot monitoring. Now this car has rear park assist, so I think it has something to do with the sensors, as well as the rear camera doesn't come on when you put it in reverse. So I'm thinking that's all tied together. So I'm going to have to dive into that, see if maybe it's a bad sensor or something, and then kind of go from there. So right now, since it's all good, the frame shop has seen it, I can go ahead and I can tear this thing apart. So I'm pretty much going to just start tearing apart everything that's damaged, and we can just go from there. So I took the front bumper off, took that headlight out, and then I was able to kind of see what I'm working with under here. Now there's actually quite a bit of hidden damage. I didn't really think any of this was damaged, but apparently it was. This was folded over a little bit, just straightened that out. Same with this, still need to straighten that a little bit. Then this was folded over, bent that back. I'll probably throw a couple tack welds on here, make sure it stays solid. And then this is where the horns were mounted. They were squished pretty good, so that would explain why they don't work anymore. And then the main thing is right here. You can see it's pushed in, and then this whole bracket is bent in and kind of under the car like this. So I took out the windshield washer reservoir, and I have pretty good access back here. And then once I have this thing up in the air, I'll take the tires off. That inner fender will come out because I'm taking the outer fender off. So then I'll have wide open. I can just hit this, bring it back out. Pretty close to where it needs to be. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's nothing structural. It's pretty much just there to hold the washer fluid tank, so that's not a huge deal. The washer fluid tank actually isn't broken, surprisingly. And now you can kind of see the extent of the damage. Like, it hit the condenser hard. It broke this top mount on the rad, so it got pushed all the way back, which is why the fan is also damaged. The estimate didn't say there was an intercooler, but it kind of looks like this intercooler did get damaged, which no big deal. I have this package of 3 from my previous parts car, so those will end up going in here. So yeah, basically I think I'm going to continue by pulling this inner fender off, this fender off, because those are both junk. Hopefully I can find a new outer fender, because I really don't want to have to repair this. It's such thin sheet metal, and there's a section here that needs work. Right at the front needs work, and there's a little wavy spot kind of over there that I think needs work as well. So I'd rather just find a new one if I can. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then probably start stripping down parts off of the hood and off of the front bumper that are still good, that I want to keep and swap over to the new stuff. So a quick recap of what I did. Pulled the wheel off, pulled the inner fender out, pulled the outer fender off. Now to do that, kind of had to pull the side skirt away, had to take off the cowling, which meant taking the wipers off. So that all got done, and then I was able to get in here a little bit better. As you can see, it's wide open from behind, so I grabbed my fancy high-tech auto body tool here, give it a few hits around this area, and it straightened it right out. It's pretty much dead straight where it needs to be, and like I said before, all it's really there is to hold the washer fluid tank, and I guess just kind of support this as a gusset too, but it's nothing really too major. And yeah, I went ahead, welded one on there and one down here, and now this bracket is solid, and then just threw a quick coat of paint on it just because there's a little bit of bare metal. So that's all on there, that's all straight, so the actual metalwork should be done. And now that we're in here, we can get a closer look at the brakes, and yeah, they're a little rough. There's still a little bit of pad material, but there's quite a ridge on here, and like I said, full of rust, surface rust. And I'd like to get those out of the way. And then this is the side that's not leaking, but I mean, it looks pretty rough, and I'm sure it's got the same mileage as the other side, so you'd be dumb not to do both. And as far as the fender goes, I did see one used for $100. Might go that route, see if I can find a different one for cheaper maybe, but I really don't want to have to repair one of these because they're such thin sheet metal. As soon as you put any sort of body filler in there and you lean up against the car and the fender flexes, well, there goes your body filler and you've cracked your paint job. So I'd rather not if I don't have to. Rather just get a used one, throw it on there, get it painted, done deal. So that is going to conclude today's video. That's really all I wanted to get done. In the next video, we're going to pull the rads off, the rad, the condenser, and the intercooler, and the electric fan off. And then I think I'm probably going to dive into the engine leaks, because once those are off, I have full access to the exhaust manifold and the turbo, which will have to come off to do those oil cooler gaskets. So that would be the perfect time to get those done, get the water coolant outlet done while there's no coolant in it from the rad being out. And what else was there? The water pump and the valve cover are going to be covered under warranty. They have a special bulletin for them from GM, so it'll go to the dealership for those. And then that should pretty much wrap up all the leaks on this thing as well, which would be nice. So that should be going on in the next video, so be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe, you don't want to miss that. And be sure to drop a comment down below if maybe any of this helped you, or if you're rebuilding a Cruze, or if you have any questions or comments, I'll be sure to answer them. So with that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one.